Here's a really good example of a furnace. It's really good for learning. Let me walk you through how this furnace works, okay? So if you haven't seen my video on how a heat exchanger works, go back and watch that video. I'll put a link to that video in this video, maybe at the end credits, okay? First thing that happens in a furnace, the vent motor comes on. It's gonna pull a draft through that heat exchanger. So the vent motor is gonna suck air out through the exhaust, which is gonna cause air to go in through this way, right? The vent motor comes on, also causes a suction down this tube, which closes this pressure switch. When that pressure switch closes, that tells the board that the vent motor is on. So once that pressure switch closes, now it is safe to release gas, okay? Vent motor, pressure switch closes. Then the system is going to check rollout switch. It's going to make sure this rollout switch is closed. One quick tip, there's a little resettable button on a lot of rollout switches. If a rollout switch is tripped, that's not the problem with the furnace. If a rollout switch trips, that's a sign of another problem, okay? So the safeties are closed, rollout switch, pressure switch, high limit switch. If all those are closed, then the board is going to send a signal to turn the gas. Well, if you have a spark ignition or a hot surface igniter, if it's a hot surface igniter, you're gonna see it glow. If it's a spark ignition, you're gonna hear it sparking, okay? Once that spark comes on, then the board is going to turn the gas valve on, okay? All right, so that gas valve is on. There's a little on-off switch there. When that gas valve comes on, gas is going to come from the meter into these orifices, and the gas is going to come on. Once the gas comes on, the flame is going to touch the flame sensor. It's right there, okay, that white thing. If that flame sensor does not heat up, then that is telling the board that the gas that's being released is not burning. The system's not just gonna pump gas out here, it has to be burning. So if that doesn't heat up, the gas is gonna cut off. It's gonna try that 3 times, and if the flame sensor does not sense heat after 3 times, that furnace is gonna lock out. Vent motor, pressure switch, all safety satisfied, spark ignition, gas valve, flame sensor. That's the order of a furnace. All right, let's take a look over here. The heat exchanger is under here. I'm going to show you how that looks and show you how to inspect that. So what we're going to have to do is take these screws off. We're going to have to slide this motor out and take a look at that heat exchanger under there. If you notice, there's also a safety here. That's going to be your high limit, okay? All right, let's check it out. Okay, there's the heat exchanger there. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna check for any obvious cracks on there. Okay, so the heat exchanger looked good. Now, since we have the fan out, you see all that dirt in there. That causes a lot of drag, which will burn this motor out. Also, you don't get good airflow, so we're gonna wanna get all of that dirt off of that squirrel cage. Okay, when you're getting dirt off of a squirrel cage, you wanna make sure that you don't knock that weight off. That weight keeps the wheel balanced, just like, well, it's a wheel weight, just like on tires. So you don't wanna mess with those. So you don't, if you're gonna use a screwdriver or something to scrape dirt, you don't wanna go scraping like crazy.